Okay, this is Nishika Menezes, and thank you for clicking onto this video. Um, uh, the reason why I'm doing this video is I basically wanted to share my story of immigration, which I did just literally 2 days back from Bangalore, India, to Calgary, which is in Alberta, in Canada. So what I'm gonna so I'm gonna phase this whole video into three parts. First one, I'm gonna talk about how I booked my tickets, which airlines and various other information on that. The second one, sorry, just ignore uh, the tone notification. The second part, what I'm going to talk about is my whole experience at the airport and the air time, and finally the landing. And the third one that I'm going to be talking to you guys is about my immigration and the stay part of it. That is post landing, where did I stay, and things related to that. So talking about booking, um, before that I just want to tell you a little backstory on my visa situation. I'll probably do another video which explains the whole visa scenarios that I had because of all of this that is going on around the world due to pandemic and what impact it had on my visa. But yeah, the backstory is I had a confirmation of PR, permanent residency, which was expired, and then I had an authorization letter which I received from IRCC via mail. So I was going to travel with these two documents mainly, and I wanted to make sure that the flight that I book accepts these documents, because I kept hearing stories about how Air India was denying passengers from boarding. So what I did was I didn't want to take the chance of getting denied, and that's the reason why I called up Air Canada, from which I had not heard from many people as to having denied. So I called Air Canada and asked them if these documents were accepted, and they said that if it is government issued, Canadian government issued documents, then yes, they would be very much accepted, and that's the reason why I went ahead and booked my tickets from Air Canada. And I booked this probably 2 months prior to my travel date. So in October, I booked my tickets for December 1st, and the itinerary was from Bangalore to Delhi, Delhi to Toronto, and from Toronto to Calgary. So this is how my PNR was. I booked my tickets for December 1st at 7 o'clock in the evening from Bangalore to Delhi, and midnight December 2nd, which is 1 o'clock in the morning, 1 a.m., was from Delhi to Toronto, and from Toronto it was on December 2nd morning Canadian time, which was at 8 o'clock, to Calgary. So the booking experience was all good, and the tickets that I booked was premium economy tickets. The reason being, I had baggage that I wanted to take with me, and with economy they allowed only just one baggage of 23 kgs in check-in, which was too less for me. So I booked premium economy, which gave me two baggage allowance of 23 kgs each, and then a 7 kg of carry-on plus a laptop bag or a handbag that you can carry. uh, just about 20 days before my travel date, there was a change that Air Canada did, and which caused quite a bit of confusion, because the flight from Delhi to Toronto, which was at midnight December 2nd, 1 a.m., did not exist anymore. So what they did was they pushed it to December 3rd, and my whole itinerary was a little messed up, because I had now flight from Bangalore on December 1st at 7 o'clock in the evening. From Delhi to Toronto was pushed to December 3rd, 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, and my Toronto to Calgary remained as is on December 2nd. So that caused quite of confusion, because there's no way that I can travel this itinerary, right? So I called up Air Canada and then told them about this whole mix up that had happened, and then that's when they said that the 2nd December's flight is cancelled and no more exist. So what I said was either push everything to December 2nd and 3rd travel, or do it November 30th and December 1st travel. it was a long call, which was about probably like an hour, and I was probably 30 minutes on hold time, but then everything got fixed at the end. So the person fixed everything or pushed all my tickets to December 2nd and 3rd flight. That way I could travel together and had a sensible itinerary. Uh, Also, one call out here, the number which I called for Air Canada was the Canadian number, or Canadian customer executive number, rather than the Indian one. So I use this app called Text Now, which allows you to do unlimited Canadian or US calls and free of cost. I recommend you guys to download if just in case if you need to contact somebody in Canada with regards to your whole immigration or visa. So that was fixed. My travel itinerary was fixed, and then on the day of the travel, I just headed to the Bangalore airport and went to the check-in, and just one, I wouldn't call an issue, but yeah, a little bit of confusion that again caused here was with regards to my check-in baggage. So as I mentioned, I had two check-in baggages, which was allowed as per the allowance. However, I had an additional baggage of around 28 kgs as an extra bag that I wanted to take, and which I knew that I had to pay. But the only confusion that was with regards to how much I need to pay. So when I booked my tickets on Air Canada, what they did was my Bangalore to Delhi flight was basically Vistara flight, and then rest of it from Delhi up until Calgary was Air Canada. So this was managed by Vistara. So the confusion was when I was checking for extra baggage on Air Canada website for my itinerary, they said I need to pay $225, and the exact quote was 225 CAD, which is Canadian dollars, slash USD, which is US dollars. So that was the statement that was there. So I assumed it to be Canadian dollars since I was traveling to Air Canada, and then it was a flight to Canada, right? But the authorities at the check-in said that they might have to charge me US dollars and not Canadian dollars, and that was a quite of confusion that happened, which I still do not understand why they charge me US dollars when it specifically mentioned Canadian dollars or US dollars. But then the only reason that they said was if you're traveling from Canada to anywhere else, that's when Canadian dollars apply, and from India, if you're traveling, they take the US dollars and not Canadian dollars. So I had to pay $225 dollars of in Canadian. Just a second. So sorry about this. Okay, so sorry. Also, my hair is a mess. It's 8 o'clock in the evening here. I just got up and I thought of doing this video, but I've still not got adjusted to the time zone here, so I'm still running on my Indian time zone, so my day and nights are pretty much messed up. But yeah, coming back to the video, so I paid $225 dollars, and then I went ahead and did my security and went to the boarding gate. There was no other issue as such during my whole experience. Actually, it went pretty smooth considering all this was happening, and I was a little skeptical with regards to the boarding, but everything went fine. So at the Vistara counter, they asked me for just my boarding pass because it was a domestic travel, so didn't ask me anything else. They did give me a face mask and a face shield, and then I reached Delhi up around I would say 10:30ish, and my flight was at 1 o'clock. And my immigration did not happen on Bangalore. The reason being, the first flight or the first leg of my travel was a domestic, and from Delhi was my flight to Canada, Toronto. So my immigration happened at Delhi, and At Delhi, what happened was I didn't have to do the check-in again because my baggage was. I made sure that my baggage was tagged till my final destination, which was Calgary. So here, all I did was I did my security check, and then before security check, there was an immigration counter, and I went there, and it went pretty smooth. It took me probably 7 to 6 minutes. Sorry, 5 to 6 minutes, and my whole immigration was done. So the person in charge asked me for my boarding pass, asked me for my passport, asked me for my confirmation of PR document, and then also my authorization letter. And all he did was just go through all of it and explain that my visa was expired and I got a AL, which was issued, which lets me to travel up until December 26th. So this is the reason why I'm traveling. No questions asked. He just stamped my boarding pass and my passport, and then I just went ahead and did my security, and then I boarded the flight. It was a long flight actually. It was around 15 hours to reach Toronto, so it was a pretty long and tiring flight. In flight, the experience was really good because I took premium economy. I'm pretty tall and I had a ample leg space, and they did give you a welcome kit, I would call, of basic necessities during, especially for the pandemic time frame, right? So they give a water bottle, face mask, toothbrush, socks, and earplugs for the entertainment, the in-flight entertainment, and stuff like that. And no issues as such. Food, yeah, they gave, since it was a midnight flight, as soon as we boarded, within an hour they gave us dinner, and then sometime around like halfway through the flight they gave us sandwiches to eat, and obviously there was liquor if anybody wanted to drink. And then finally, an hour or so before we landed, they again gave us breakfast. Food was pretty decent, nothing great to be expected out of it, but yeah, just decent. And then I landed, and my immigration again happened at the airport in Toronto. I was thinking it would happen in Calgary, considering Calgary was my final destination, and I am a Alberta PNP provincial nominee candidate, so I was expecting it to happen in Calgary. But since again Toronto to Calgary was a domestic flight, the immigration happened in Toronto. And before you land, right, they give you a declaration card which you need to fill. So the information that I had to fill in that was my details with regards to my name, age, and things like that. And then there was address, so I had to give my home address, that was the Indian address that I came from. And there are few declaration that I had to make in terms of what all things that I'm getting, with regards to, there was a question as to food related, if all of any of dairy products or things that I'm getting, and you just check yes or no. If there was any unaccompanied goods that you wanted to get, and I would suggest you to do this, that is to check yes for any unaccompanied goods that would follow. The reason being, whether you bring it or not, that's a secondary, but it's always good to declare that you're gonna get something later, and provide a dollar value, Canadian dollar value for it, because just in case if you have anything coming later on, then you have already declared, and that makes sure that you don't have to pay the duty, customs duty, for those stuff. So I checked yes for that, and rest of it was pretty much straightforward questions which you have to just say no, because the questions were like, are you getting any firearms with you and things like that. So that was pretty decent. And then finally, the last section was about the date that you're filling in, and where are you heading, your final destination, right? So that was the section. So I went, coming to the whole immigration process. So I landed, I didn't have to take any baggage, so I directly went to the immigration section, where there was a person who asked me for my declaration card, my passport, my COPR, as well as the ArriveCan app. So this is something which is very, very, very important, especially now that you're traveling. If you're traveling sometime now during this pandemic, so there is this app called ArriveCan from the government of Canada. Then I needed to put information about which flight are you coming in from, and which is the airport that you're landing, and the type of travel and things like that. Basis this, and also your quarantine plan. You need to mention about your quarantine plan, and basis that it generates a code which you need to show it to the immigration officer, and he will just look at the code, make note of it, and say yes. So after providing these four things, um, I was sent through to the next section of immigration. So this happened pretty smooth as well. There wasn't any questions asked. I upfront told them that I am an Alberta provincial nominee candidate, so I'm not staying in Toronto. So the address that I provided would be of Calgary, where I'm going to be self quarantined for 14 days. And then the second section that I went in was the main immigration section, where they take and stamp your passport with regards to when you've landed, and your counterfoil number will be printed onto your passport. The reason being, I had a counterfoil or the visa that was actually expired, right? My new counterfoil number was just in the authorization letter. I didn't have a visa attached to my passport. So here when I went, again the same information or the documents that was asked was my passport, COPR, ArriveCan app, and also my boarding pass, something that they asked, and the COPR document. I don't know if I already mentioned, but yeah, pretty much the same documents, and the declaration card. And they took that. Here is when they asked me for an address wherein my PR card would be sent, and they said it would take 4 months. So I gave an address of a friend of mine, because I was gonna stay at Airbnb for a month and then move on to a more permanent type of housing, and that's why I didn't have a address to provide there of my own. So I gave my friends, and they specifically told me that it would take 4 months for me to get my PR card. And another call out here is about SIN, which is a social security number of Canada. uh, Here, earlier apparently they would do it right then and there, but you could apply for a SIN. But during for because of all that is happening, they gave me a sheet of paper which gave instruction as to how I can get my SIN. And either it mentioned that either I could do it online or post my quarantine or self isolation. I could visit Service Canada and then get my SIN activated. These were it. And they asked me, after all the information that was taken, they asked me to have a seat for a couple of minutes, and probably in 2 or 3 minutes the person called my name, and I went. They stamped my visa, they stamped my passport, and they actually mentioned my counterfoil number onto the stamping, where they had done the stamping, and they said that this is what I'm going to be using as a proof of document that I've landed in Canada as a PR, and now as a COPR, and now I'm a PR, permanent resident of Canada. And then they just welcomed me to Canada, and also mentioned that I need to stay here minimum for 2 years to 5 years to have a status of permanent resident, unless or else it would be revoked if I don't meet the minimum stay criteria. So that was it. This was done, and then I had to head to the third counter of immigration. That was finally the stage where if you have any unaccompanied goods, then this is where you had to declare. So I moved to the next counter, and this counter in Toronto was right next to the baggage. So once you're done with the first two, you would head down, and there is this bells where you can actually pick up your baggage. So right next to it was the counter. You just need to walk in and they will guide you. They will ask you, a person will ask you if you have any unaccompanied goods, and if yes, then they will tell you to take a right and go to the section where the immigration officer is seated. So there I went. I actually filled out a form much like before my travel, which was B186 form. And this form, all you have to do is just mention what are the types of goods that you're going to be getting and what is the Canadian dollar equivalent of that, of all those things. Actually, I'm not sure if I filled the right form or not, but the immigration officer showed me another form and he asked me, have you filled this? And I said no, and I guess that was the 186A form, and what I filled was 186B. So but then he said it was not an issue, he would fill it up on my behalf, and he just copied whatever I had in my sheet onto his. Again, this took about a 5 to 8 minutes max. And then what he did was he gave me a final sheet of paper, which was stamped and which had all the things that I had mentioned in dollar value. And for a safer side, I asked him, like, if would there be an issue if the things that I'm mentioned here and what I'm getting, if there's a difference in value. He said if it is less, there's absolutely no harm, but yeah, if it is more, up to a certain limit, though he didn't say what was the limit, but then up to a certain limit he said that it is allowed, but if it goes way above, then there would be an issue. But on the safer side, I actually declared much higher than what I'm going to be getting. And that was done. And then all I did was head to my boarding gate in Delhi to my flight for sorry, I think I messed up. Sorry, yeah, to my flight. I don't know, I'm so sorry about that. And then I just head to my gate for the final flight to Calgary. That was pretty smooth as usual as the whole experience was. And I just went to the boarding gate. During the boarding time, they asked me for my boarding pass and my passport, and then I just headed. And then finally I landed in Calgary. I landed in the domestic terminal, and I went ahead. I was a little skeptical as to if I'm gonna receive all my baggage, considering the layover I had was just 2.5 to 3 hours in all the legs. So because of which I was expecting not to get my baggage, but luckily the first few bags that came out was mine, and I just had to pick it up. And then as soon as you head out, there are these taxi services. You could actually book Uber, but then I wasn't able to book in Uber because it wasn't accepting cash payments, and nor was it accepting my debit or credit cards, which was registered as in the Indian address that I had. So what I did was I just walked out, and there were these cabs that were passing by, dropping passengers or travelers, and I just hopped onto another one. And it's pretty much like how in India they have a meter system, right? So it was the same meter system that was installed, and I just hopped into it. The driver was very, very, very sweet enough to load all my baggage in. And so the airport was in northeast of Calgary. So there are these four quadrants: northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. So the airport was northeast, and the place that I was staying was southeast. So they charged me about $52, I guess, and which was considering okay. Actually, Uber was costing 40 bucks to $43, and this charged me around 53, around $10 more. However, there are these private limousines that you can avail at the airport, but I think it's way too expensive. So the place that I was going to southeast, the charge was about $76 to $80, and it was almost double of what I was paying in Uber or the other the other regular taxi that I was taking. Yes, so to summarize my whole experience about the immigration and the travel, it was very smooth considering how much of doubts I had, and I was a little nervous as to what would happen if I would be denied and things like that. But it went really, really, really smooth. And finally, about the stay, what I'd done was I had booked an Airbnb before my travel. So right after I booked my tickets, my air tickets, I also searched for Airbnb. And before I booked, I actually reached out to the host to ask if self-isolating or quarantine was allowed, and if the host was fine with me being an international traveler and quarantining at the property, and the the host was pretty much fine with all of the situations that I had. Though she did ask me about to get a proof of COVID-19 report to be tested as negative, so that is something that I got. And then it's been 2 days now that I'm quarantined, and it's pretty much fine. I'm not feeling much of a change as of now because I'm still inside. I haven't got the chance to go out much, and also the weather is pretty pleasant. It's about 5 degrees to 1 degrees Celsius, and it hasn't reached the negative side, though it was snowing probably last week, the week before I came, so there is snow settled outside, but then it's pretty much decent. So yeah, this was how my whole experience was about my whole immigration process. Oh, I just realized my hair is a mess. No. Okay. So I will do, as I said, I will do another video talking about my whole visa situation, and then probably you can check it out. I'll make a probably make a playlist of all my videos for everything related to immigration. And thank you so much. And this is my first video. I hope I know I must have done some mistakes, but I hope you understand that I'm still an amateur. And I wish you guys all the best for if you're traveling anytime soon, or if you're planning to travel or immigrate to Canada. All the best, and I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. So leave comments, like this video, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Bye bye.